So first I'd like to start with, start on that side, start with the Chancellor, since he's right by me. So Chancellor Elihu.
President, thank you very much. Even though Black History Month only has 28 days, Black History is made every day of the year. And I think when we look back at the history of blacks in this hemisphere, it really is, I think, exemplary of struggle. I heard on my Sunday at church that while black people were enslaved, they weren't slaves because they continued to rebel against the oppression, the repression, and the inhumanity that was visited upon them. As you all know, when Europeans came to this hemisphere after Columbus in 1492, they started with the workers, they started with the Indians who were not physically or otherwise inclined to kind of work on plantations, tobacco, sugar, the other crops that they were developing in this hemisphere just really required backbreaking work, and it was something where the Africans seemed to be the most suitable people to do that work. They came first as indentured servants, and then later, when they clearly were not going to come voluntarily, slavery was the method of suppression. And it seemed to me that one of the realities was that he had to dehumanize the slaves, to elevate them to a level of humanity, gave them credibility, gave them right that the slave owners did not want them to have. They didn't want them to be right, they didn't want them to have civil or human rights. And as a result, the exploitation of the slaves was far beyond that of other people who had been colonized. But the struggle for emancipation, the struggle for justice and equality began from the outset. Slave revolts obviously were very common. Slaves did not like the idea of losing their culture, losing their identity, and certainly losing their humanity, and they continued to rebel. We all know the story of Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, and after he was captured and killed, they took his body, took his skin, and made a purse on a lampshade out of it for the person to capture. So the humanizing was made to be visible and made to create fear in the hearts of those who had been enslaved. And later, in the 1850s, with Dred Scott, the Supreme Court made it very clear that black folks had no rights that whites were bound to respect. And that Supreme Court decision still has not been overturned, even though the civil rights, so the Civil War was held. Subsequently, the black codes were put into place. Plessy versus Ferguson was passed in the 1890s. We saw the birth of the NAACP in 1909. Now we're in the 100th year of the founding of that organization. We saw the lynchings that took place throughout the early part of the 19th and into the 20th century. Certainly we saw the struggle for human and civil rights that endured throughout the 20th century, to the point where we are today, where many people believe that with the election of a black president, we have equality. And I'm sure very few people believe that, although some people would like that to become the new urban legend, that civil rights, human rights, affirmative action are no longer a struggle because they've been achieved. I think we all know that the dream is far from reality. We talk about the fight for citizenship and the rights that every citizen has. And I think we all understand that there are so many vestiges of racism, of slavery, of inequality, that it is a constant struggle, not only to convince the oppressor that rights should be extended, but even those who are oppressed, that they actually have those rights. If they are willing to struggle to protest and to indicate they in fact are not accepting the status quo, that they're not only asking for their rights, but demanding. I mentioned church, and last Sunday we had Michael Lance, professor at Chancellor State, do his rendition one-man show, Malcolm X, the Ballot or the Bullet, and I think that still continues to be a debate for many of us as to whether or not we can achieve civil rights through peaceful and legal means, or whether or not you have to be revolutionary to the point of armed struggle, which we we've seen a lot in the world that debate has continued, and not only in the United States, but in South Africa and many other places. So today we really want to talk about where are we, where we're going, and more importantly, how do we continue the struggle for change, because it is obviously far from over, and each day as we make Black history, we have to think about generations just born, the rights that they will have, the world they will inherit, and whether or not they, in fact, will see any further realize or continue to unite in racism and oppression.